Welcome to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. There are no traffic jams along the extra mile when you're studying for your bar exam. And now your hosts, Jackson Mummy and Megan Saya from Celebration Bar Review.
Hey everyone, welcome. So glad to have you with us. Glad to be back. We were away for a week with all sorts of things going on. Megan is going to be joining me on screen in a few minutes. We update you on news about the bar exam around the country. We take questions that have come in the past week, or in this case 2 weeks, and we will address those. And then if there's time, we'll certainly take questions from those of you on the live Q&A in the chat box. We do have a lot of questions today, so we'll see how we do with that. Megan, are you there? So just before we went online, you and I were saying that it feels like we're both racing. I got to take a breath and catch our breath. It feels like that headlong rush right now, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think a lot of the students are feeling that way too. It's just one thing after another, and it's a bit of an overwhelming. I'm hearing that from a lot of students right now, like just things are really feeling overwhelming. So I'm definitely encouraging people to go on June's mindset call and do the abundance for the bar exam workshop. Like, I think anything that you need to do to get your head straight, because man, like we're all feeling it. And certainly people who are studying for the bar are really feeling it.
You want to start us off with just news around the bar exam world? Because it's been a busy couple of weeks since we gathered with everybody.
Yeah, it has. Jackson, we are finally allowed to talk about the subjects that were on the UBE essay. Oh, yes. So would you like to share with people who took that test, or maybe you're taking it in July and you're interested in what was tested last time?
Yes, so very much I would like to tell you. And I have to say the order of the questions was different officially than what we had. So if you got a video from me before last week, I probably told you the wrong subjects for those essays, and I apologize. That was the information we had. But we now have the official list and the order that they were given. There are 6 essays on the Uniform Bar Exam. Essay number 1 was in agency and partnership. It was a pretty straightforward question. I like agency and partnerships versus corporations. Pretty narrow field generally. Question number 2 was wills, decedents, estates. People that like that subject were enthralled. People that don't like that subject, less excited about it, but a pretty common one. Subject or essay number 3 was civil procedure. This is pretty typical. We would certainly have expected this, and it was a pretty straightforward civil procedure problem. Essay number 4 was Article 9, secured transactions. This is not an easy exam, folks. If you're looking, we had wills, we had civil procedure, we had secured transactions. Those are not usually the subjects that people get all excited about. But that was essay number 4. And then essay number 5 was real property. I don't know if that's the trifecta or what is it when you got 4 in a row that just knock your socks off. And then the last of the 6 essays was contracts. So contracts and sales, our 6th one. We were pretty accurate in predicting those. If you watch my preview videos, I think it was on pretty spot on with the not the predictions, because I don't want to call them that, but what do we say? The preview of what might be coming. So again, agency and partnership, decedents, estates, civil procedure, secure transactions, property, and contracts. We have now put that information into the Uniform Bar Exam study guide that's online. So if you want to see that and see it in the context of other exams, you will find it in the new online version of the study guide. So that's up. So that's what we know. In terms of performance tests, one was persuasive to a legal audience. The other was objective to a legal audience. So no surprise there.
Wonderful. All right. The other big news this week was that California results were released on Friday as expected. What can we take away from this February exam?
What did Mark Twain say? Statistics, damn statistics or damn lies? I don't know. The statistics, what the bar examiners in California said, their lead was, hey, the rate went up by 10 points from last February, which is like saying you're only drowning a little. You were drowning a lot before. The overall pass rate on this exam for all bar takers was a whopping 60%. I'm sorry, that's not right. The overall pass rate was, no, it wasn't even close. It was
37.2%.
37.2% pass. Sorry. It's such a low number. It's such a low number. I can't even wrap my brain around it. For repeat bar takers, it was 27%. Oh my God, horrible. But here's the thing that really stood out to me, Megan. There were 1,151 people who passed the exam. That was it, 1,151. You did a Google search before we started. What's the population in California right now?
Almost 40 million.
So for 40 million people, we added 1,151 attorneys. Now, you tell me if that makes any sense to anyone in any rational world. It's just crazy. So very few people passed. Very few people took the exam, and that was not a surprise. There was about 3,100 bar takers in total. A normal February exam in California would be at least 5,000. But the more significant part is that we had far fewer repeat bar takers. And the reason is that the results in 2020, remember that exam was not given until late in 2020. Results didn't come out till very late in 2020. There was virtually no time for a repeat bar taker coming out of that exam to get into the February exam. So of those 3,100 applicants, we had 60% were repeat takers, 40% were first-time takers. That is fewer repeat takers than we normally have, believe it or not, and that changed the totals pretty significantly. So I'm not an optimist about these numbers. They're pretty horrible. 27% is just absurd. I'm glad we had some students that passed who are repeat bar takers. We're going to try and do some interviews and do some other things with them, and congratulations to all of them. If you took the exam in February of 2021 in California, you didn't pass, don't hang your head too low. It was not a good exam. It was not a situation where I think most people had a particularly good opportunity to pass. And so I'm concerned about that. The other number I would tell you is that for the attorney's exam, 57% passed, so a little better than the first-time rate. And we would expect that with attorneys that we'd get to that 57% rate, but still not very good when you look at it overall. Now, one of the interesting things the bar examiners did note is that, of course, they changed the passing rate from 1440 to 1390, and they did an interesting study to figure out what would happen if the cut score had remained at 1440. And what they said was that if that score had remained at that higher number, only 734 people would have passed. That would have been a pass rate of 23.7%. 23%? Are you kidding me? So what happens in all of that is that we've got certainly more people passing because of the lower cut score. And so to compare it to February of 2020, when we had that 1440, I don't know, it can't make you very happy. It's better than nothing. You're comparing against an awful number to start with. So that's what we see. And I think that one of the implications of this, and I'd be curious to get your take on it, Megan, is 75 days or so to the next bar exam. If you just got your results out of California, it's going to take a big effort to move into the passing range in that 75 days, don't you think?
Yeah, if you're someone who just failed this last exam, I think that you need to take a really specific look at what your score was and what you need to improve and figure out if that's realistic for this time frame. And if it's not, that's okay. The next exam in next February will be there. So you can go ahead and put that as your goal. But yeah, I think it's probably worth on a case-by-case basis figuring out for yourself how close are you and how much time realistically are you going to need to really drill down into the skills that are necessary to pass this exam.
And for our students, that's why I did the videos, and I actually showed students in those videos where their percentile ranking is and where they have to get. To pass the Cal Bar right now, you have to be in the 65th percentile or higher. That's a big number to hit. In most jurisdictions, you don't need to be in the 65th percentile. You'd have to be more like the 50th or 55th percentile. So if you're scoring down in the 10th or 15th percentile and you got to get to the 65th, you might consider starting now and studying consistently up to the February exam. And of course, that's not a problem with our course. You can do that, and certainly the bar examiners would let you sit out an exam or more. But I am really reluctant to have people pounding their head against this exam when they're not ready. Get ready and you can pass it. And one of the things that really helps people pass is to get the coaching. I know you worked with a Cal student, did a coaching program with them, and it made all the difference, right? It's just getting that help. You can't replace that. And so I think for some of you, I know you feel like you've spent so much money and so much time, but honestly, don't try to shortcut this thing because the examiners have written a test. 1,151 people passed. I got to tell you, that was not the people that tried to do it on the cheap or with a minimum amount of effort and time. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality, I think.
Yeah, definitely. California just remains the hardest bar exam. It's a beast. It helps that they brought the passing score down, but the reality is that it is just still an incredibly difficult test to pass. And yeah, it's just hard. You're going to need help if you've tried and failed. We're here, whatever you want, we're here. We want to help you with it. I took it. I passed it first time. I know that it's a difficult test. I know it's stressful. I know it feels unfair when you have friends maybe from law school who are taking other tests and you're like, I would pass that one, or this is so much simpler. So yeah, we're here for whatever you need, but definitely keep your head up, keep studying. Even if you decide to do even if you decide to do February instead of July, you should keep studying.
And use the tools, right? Use photo reading, use mind mapping, use the Abundance for Bar Study MasterClass, get the coaching help. This is not the time to be stoic and say, by God, I'm going to tough it out on my own. You need as much help as you can get for this test. And if it takes you longer financially to be in a position to do that, take the time. There's no reason to rush in to a test that's giving a 27% pass rate. That's just insane. I know. Headline, Bar Review says don't take the bar exam. But really, right now, don't take it right now. Start studying now, but let's look at February. It may be smarter for many of you. So there you go.
All right. We had a student question in the chat box. William asked, when do you think the February 2020 Georgia bar exam results will be released? Poor Georgia, just waiting out there all alone.
Got no clue, man. Sometime this month.
End of May is what they said.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe this is the same thing as their voting rules. We'll wait to the end and you can't get water. But I don't know. We expected, I would think today is the 12th. I would think in the next week, but I'm not going to. My spidey sense isn't tingling yet, so I don't know.
Yeah, you're maybe more than me. I'm thinking end of May. Not
typically when they say end of May, they really mean the last week in May. And everything we said about California, I would multiply for Georgia in terms of if you get a bad result coming out of that exam, I just don't know that you're really going to have a chance to get prepared for the July test. I think candidly, unless you've been anticipating a bad result and been studying, it would be very tough to turn on the gas and go, because at that point we could be looking at 55, 60 days. So that's pretty good.
And I will say, for example, in California, the students who I worked with who just passed the California exam, they took it in October and kept studying. So they didn't wait to get their result. They kept studying. And so then they were able to take it and be prepared and pass in the February one. So it's just a note that, like, if you've been studying and you just accepted, then you're in a different boat. I'm not saying don't study or put that off for those people. But yeah, I think if you took perfectly reasonably, if you took off since the last test, it might just, that window of available time is closing depending on how many points you still need to get. So anyway.
Yeah. If you're within a couple points, that's one thing. And that's again why sending me your scores, letting me talk about them with you in a video. I don't do calls, but letting me analyze it and letting you watch that privately and have the chance to absorb it and process it. I learned many years ago that having post-mortem phone calls with students after they get the results is totally wasteful. They cry, I listen. It's not a helpful process. So that's why we do it the way we do it.
Yeah. All right. I've gotten several questions in here both about, okay, I got this score, so should I defer? Or someone just asked, what's the cutoff score for where you would defer? Jackson, do you want to broadly answer this? Like, we're not going to, I can't individually say, you take it here, you take it here. Like,
so if you're in the margin of error for passing, that typically that would be within 2 or 3 points. You should absolutely not defer. That's 100%. You should go on to the next exam.
20 in California, because California
10 right. More than 10 to 20 in California, or 1 to 2 anywhere else. If you're within 10 to 20 points away from passing, you probably got a good shot, particularly if you started studying in advance. If you're more than that, then you should defer. So in California, if you've got an 1100 or a 1200, you should probably defer to February. That would be my view. And if you've sent me your score sheet, I've given you a video and I've told you explicitly. I will say, for those of you who are asking Megan those questions, send your score sheets to me. That's why we offer this service, because we should look at your specific situation. When did you start studying? How many times have you taken the exam? What tools are you using? What's your circumstance with family and work and other things? It's not a one-size-fits-all decision. And ultimately, it's not our decision, it's yours. So all we're really saying here is we're giving you permission, in a sense, to sit out this exam. I don't think there's any honor in taking the test if you can't be ready. And in general, remember that you're going to need about 300 hours of study time. So as we sit here today, make it easy, 80 days to the exam, that means we're looking at 4 hours a day on average. So if you can't put in 28 to 30 hours a week right now, and you're just starting out. Now, if you've been studying for a while, this doesn't apply to you. If you're just starting out, if you can't put in 30 hours a week, you're just not going to be ready.
Yeah, great. Good answer. All right. Yeah, I know. No, I understand. But these are good questions. They're good. Yeah. All right. And then there's one more question from the chat box. I took the bar 100 years ago when everything was in person and in writing. Now many jurisdictions are online and via electronic means. How is this accomplished electronically? What software is needed, let's say for the DC bar? And on a side note, isn't it easier to practice online versus with actual books if you plan to take the bar online?
The answer to the last question is, yeah, absolutely. It's easier. You should practice the way you're going to take the test. And we've got videos in the course for how to do essays online, how to do MBE online, how to do performance tests online. In terms of the practical pieces, you got to talk to the bar examiners. There are very specific rules in each jurisdiction about the equipment. You should be doing that right now. If you haven't done that, this question makes me nervous because if you haven't talked to the DC bar, you could be in trouble here. So you need to get off this call and get in touch with them and find out the rules and make sure you've got the right equipment. There are specific rules about where you can take the exam and what's got to be in the room with you. It's all done through artificial intelligence monitoring. They watch to see your eye movements, your head movements, your lip movements. We had a student that got dinged because she was moving her lips as she was reading, and the examiner said, we think that could be a violation. They didn't keep her from taking it. They just said, you do it again, we're going to take a deeper look. So you got to be careful about this stuff. And there's a lot of rules here, and you got to be prepared for it. And it's a new world. It's just a different world. And we've done a lot in the course about all of that. You should check the videos in your state course. I think that's the best advice I could give you.
Yeah. And then someone just asked, are we going to be able to use 2 monitors on the exam? I don't believe jurisdiction that lets use. Again, exactly. I was just going to say, check with your jurisdiction exactly what the specifications are for your laptop or computer. Like, you have to do this. We can't do it. Every jurisdiction has their own rules, and you have to make sure that you are using a laptop or a computer that has the correct screen size, because they will not let you, for instance, you can't put it on your big screen TV and hook up your keyboard to it. Like, you have to do it with with the equipment that they have set up. So please, today, even if you're taking the February exam, today, figure out what the requirements are in your jurisdiction and make sure that you have everything set up properly and the right equipment. Because you don't want to not pass the exam because of something silly like that. So
Megan said, we are not allowed to give you individual advice like that. And it's not our job to do that. So don't be waiting for us to tell you what you have to do around those things, because we're not allowed to. Yeah. So that just makes my heart, you just raised my heart rate. Whoever wrote that.
No, it's okay. Because I'm glad they're asking so that we can say this. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's good to ask the question so that.
Yes, wax in, wax off. Okay, fine.
Yes. All right, great. Let's move on to some study strategy questions. In this week's video, Jackson recommends we do 3 to 5 assignments per week for the next couple of weeks. I know it's not a set in stone rule, but I'm trying to adjust my schedule accordingly. I've been spending an inordinate amount of time just trying to get comfortable with FLA in light of the adjustments to online only, variations in subjects, etc. So I'm already feeling a bit behind. But I believe that rush might not be necessary as there's still plenty of time ahead, right?
Yeah. And so we've been talking about being close on dates, and I don't want to give people the wrong idea. 78 days for you and me, Megan, is forever, right? It's really forever. But you got to keep working. And what happens is people get fixated somewhere and they say, I've got to know this subject perfectly, or I've got to know FLA writing perfectly. And they grind. And the syllabus says, here's how long each assignment should take. If it says an assignment takes 2 hours, don't spend 3 or 4 or 5 or 10. Then you're going to be in trouble. So when I send the weekly email out, I'm just trying to give everybody a broad benchmark. Some of you have been studying for months. Some of you just started studying. And when I say 3 to 5 assignments, what I'm really saying is that's a minimal expectation. Some of you will need to do more than 5 assignments because you just started. Some of you who've been studying for a while, 5 assignments may be a perfectly reasonable number. But to be clear, you got to get to the end before the exam. I'm giving you broad benchmarks, but you need to look at your own situation and see where you are. If you're in a coaching call program with Megan or me, we'll certainly talk about your pacing. And if you're still unclear, join the group coaching calls. That's a great place to say, I'm on this assignment. Where's everybody else? They're all in different exams, but get a feeling for where people are. And the group coaches can also tell you, you need to pick it up or slow it down, whatever it might be. So take advantage of all of those resources and you should be okay.
Yeah.
Do the stuff you got to do to get the help you need now. And don't wait. The longer you wait, the tougher it is to recover. So this is the time to be doing all that.
Yeah. All right. All right. Next is a question about the MBE. My scoring in the MBE improved significantly over the past week. It went from 30% to 65 or 75%. However, it does take me forever to read the questions, like sometimes 2 to 3 hours to complete a set of 25 questions. Oh no, too early in the process to read about this.
Yes. No, it's not too early to no, wait. Danger, Will Robinson. Don't do that. Follow the study guide. Look, there's a great lecture in the course. I say great in the sense it's helpful, called Selective Intuition. And it's in your course. Selective Intuition says that you should answer a multi-state question in 90 seconds from start to finish. We explain the reasoning, we explain the data points. We are able to see through our online quiz how long it takes somebody to reach an answer and whether that answer is right or wrong. What we've learned over millions, literally, of data points is that after 90 seconds, the rate of correct answers drops like off a cliff. It doesn't just gradually go down, it just goes off the cliff. If you take more than 90 seconds to read and answer a question, you're almost certainly going to miss it. So you have to have a way to answer in 90 seconds. That's selective intuition. So if this student is taking 2 or 3 hours to do 25 questions, they're either taking way too long to answer the questions or way too long to review the answer explanations. The review of answer explanations should be by adding to your mind maps and questions.
I'm getting a bit worried about the July bar exam because of my current study time. I'm studying about 1.5 to 2 hours Monday through Friday and 4 hours on the weekends. Is this enough to get me ready for the California bar in July?
Probably not. It depends on when the student started and what their status is, but that works out to maybe 10 hours a week. I don't think you can be ready for the exam in 10 hours a week. Again, I think you got to look at where you are in the syllabus and where you got to get to. You can do that math and figure it out. Again, it's about 300 hours of total study time. So if you're still relatively early in the study guide and you're only putting in 10 hours a week, you're not going to get there. So I think it's important to be, as you said, Megan, to be practical and realistic and use your common sense. This exam, particularly California, is not passable at 10 hours a week. I don't know anybody that could do that, not even Kim Kardashian. So I think that you should be planning, most of you should be studying 20 to 30 hours a week right now. That's where probably the majority of students in our course would be. There's some exceptions. Some people just starting out will need more. Some people who have been studying for a bit longer might be a bit less, but not a lot. 20 hours is the lock-in point for me in the month of May. When we get to June, that number may go up. For many of you, it probably will. But for right now, I'm good at 20.
Great. Would mind maps still be helpful if you have to wait until almost July to purchase them? Is the last 30 days too late to use them effectively?
No, it's actually a pretty effective time to use them because what the BarMaps do is they let you pinpoint things. So if you've been going through the course, now you can go back and find that one part of a lecture because we've got the index to the lecture. And let's say you want to learn about easements in property. Well, there it is. You do that. Plus, you've got the mind maps, which hopefully you can use to check against the ones you've created. And then, as I said, you have these fast finish audios, which are great to just put on. They're just audio, and we've sped them up without turning me or you into chipmunks. And so you can listen to the entire audio in a shorter period of time. So I think it's very valuable at that point in time. And frankly, that's when we have a lot of people that order it that are not in our course and just want that last boost at the end.
Yeah. All right. One last question to end us off. And I know this is a common sentiment right now with many students. I wanted to reach out to you to let you know that I'm feeling very overwhelmed as well as stressed, and I don't really know what to do anymore. I feel like I shouldn't take the bar exam in July because I don't feel ready. There's still so much for me to learn. I'm doing questions and I'm just still getting them all wrong, and I don't know what's wrong with me. I feel like I have some sort of a block that I just can't get the answers correct, but yet at the same time, I do know stuff, so I'm so confused, and it's just really making me feel down. I was hoping for some guidance or help from you. Not really sure what to do anymore, but at this point, I'm willing to do anything.
Heartbreaking, but it doesn't have to be that way. So let me start with a very objective statement about what's happening. We're 78 days to the exam, as I said. For this student and for many people, that seems like the bar exam is right now. It's today. If it were the sun, it's blotting out the entire universe. It's the Death Star in front of you. It's all you can see. But here's the reality. The exam won't feel closer to you a month from now or 2 months from now. In other words, it's already completely filled up your line of vision. So if the exam is already filling up everything, the problem is that your skill set today is down here, but it needs to be up here, right, on exam day. And so over the next 78 days, your skill set's going to go up. But the exam won't feel more imminent to you. I know you find this hard to believe. It will not seem closer to you June 1st or July 1st than it does today. If you're feeling that way today, it's already taken up. You're already in a total eclipse. And so because the dissonance between what you're feeling and where you need to be is great, you have this problem. Now, for most people, we call this the 7th week syndrome. We are not there yet, but there is something called the dreaded 7th week, in which 7 weeks before the exam, for most people, the disconnect between how they're doing and what they think they should be doing is greatest. And it causes the most emotional trauma, the biggest meltdowns, the family fights, the road rage, all of the things that happen. You have to be a counselor at law. You have to be a wise and more serene person. You have to take the longer view of this. Just do the best you can do today. And what you'll notice is you'll get more questions correct. You'll be more effective. And the exam will seem just as close to you as it does today. So really what's happening is you're letting your emotion get in the way of reality. You have 78 days. And if you really want to think about this, go back in time 78 days and see how much worse you were then than you are today. You have improved in that period of time. You will continue to improve, even though it feels like you should be somewhere else. That's why we talk about process rather than outcomes right now. I don't care how many questions you get right today. You don't either, do you, Megan?
No.
It's really the process you're following. That's how we know you're going to get there, not the outcome. So that's my thoughts. Maybe you've got some things to add to that.
Yeah, I think use the resources that are there for you. So the group coaching and mindset calls are really helpful because you are not the only person feeling stressed out and overwhelmed, but you're also not in as bad of a spot as you probably feel like you are. And so much of it is just talking with other people and seeing that other people also go through these periods and are also feeling overwhelmed. That 7 weeks, it's like so many people are imploding. And then they're fine. By the next week, they're fine. But it's if you can see that it's not just you and there's not, I love the calls with June and that her mindset and journaling and work with people, because I think that it's heartbreaking that for so many people who have failed the bar exam over and over again, it starts to become part of the way they see themselves. And it's not. If you have failed the bar exam, it is nothing about who you are as a person. That is not a reflection of your intelligence or your abilities or certainly your worth. And so I think that reach out, be a part of community and accept and hear the people around you who you will come to learn and love and realize those are amazing people. They're incredible and intelligent people, and they have failed the bar exam. And so obviously I don't look at them and think they're worthless because of this. So why would I say that to myself? So just, you are not alone in this process. It is an unfair process. It is completely unfair. And we're here to do everything that we can to get you over the finish line. We are here to do everything we can to make this process at least the tiniest bit more fair for you. So anything we can do, let us know. But this whole community is here for you, including your fellow bar takers. Like, it's a great community of people. Yeah,
it really is. And if you need a little extra bolt of inspiration, go check out some of the case studies. The interview I did with Delisa, is just incredible. But I did one with Mila the other day, Russian attorney, took the exam 5 times before she passed. There's just so many that are people who were where you are, and they just persevered and they followed what we offered, and they were part of the community and they were successful. Please don't give up. Don't get down on yourself. As Megan says, you are not a failure. You're a success to be able to take the bar exam. And we've got your back. We're here. our mission is to level the playing field for you. And so if you take advantage of that, you can be successful. And every exam, we have many people that accomplish that. And so we're looking forward to when each of you are in that position as well. So with that, I think we're pretty much done for this week. Great questions, awesome questions. Thanks for all the participation in the chat box. We'll be back next week. We're still a long way. That dreaded 7th week is at 50 days. We're at 78, so we're still a long way away. So take a breath, take the Abundance for Bar Studies Masterclass, and keep working and keep your studies going. And then we will see you all next Wednesday. All right. Yeah. Thanks, Megan. Glad to have you with us. And we'll see you all again next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening and watching the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers at celebrationbarreview.com.